Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 122 of the Xbox All Gamers podcast. This week, I'm joined by Keo.
Hello.
And that's it. We're two-manning it today. Well, I always say it's going to be a short show and we have less of us, but we got quite a bit to cover this week. There's a whole ID at Xbox showcase that just happened that had a shitload of trailers. We've been playing quite a few games as well. And there's also just a fair bit of like regular news in there too. So yeah, I think we're got a jam-packed episode.
Yeah. A lot of the news this week is kind of tied. It's grouped up a little bit because there's a few of the same kind of things. There's just a lot of it. But yeah.
All right. But first, as always, we do the show live on Twitch. So come say hi. Xbox Hall of Gamers is a place to find us. We do the show live every week, usually Friday or Saturday, depending on who we have on. So yeah, come say hi, hang out in the chat, shitpost, ask questions. We try to interact as much as we can while we're recording. But let's get into our community questions. We got a couple of them this week. First one is from my good friend Logic Dad, Mr. Isaac himself, who says, "Hey guys, I recently discovered a way to play Minecraft on the Kindle Fire again, after Amazon disabled it working on non-Amazon devices. So I went back and got all the title updates I've been missing. Have there been any games or achievements that you've thought you couldn't get that became obtainable later? Thanks for taking my question." Thank you for asking, Isaac.
Okay. Do you have anything off the bat so far? While I just have a think.
Yeah, I mean, you see the odd pop up on TA of something, the flags being changed on something, which is, you know, it's been more and more recently as things become like obtainable again, which is nice.
Yeah. There's been a few weird ones like that.
Gears of War Judgment was one of those ones where they just, I know there's still the one unobtainable, so unfortunately I'll never finish it. But there were a few in there that kind of were unobtainable, then obtainable, then unobtainable, back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
There was also a couple of like early Neverwinter ones of like things that just didn't get used anymore. I don't know how many discontinues there are there now, but they're usually pretty good about patching them later, which is nice for them. But otherwise, not really. Like I know, Keo, you tend to be like on the online side of things. You like jump on stuff pretty quickly just to kind of get it done, right?
Yeah, I try to get into games as soon as I can. I do like most of the achievements on my profile are multiplayer, and I've barely finished any of the stories. And if the game's complete, then you know I don't have it anymore. It's that kind of thing. So
Same.
yeah, so I don't know, the Gears Judgment one that came back, I haven't quite obtained it yet, but I think you still get it. Is the one you have to do the gold weapon?
Yeah, the gold weapons
markers?
one.
Yeah. I know that's not the Sybarite one, is it? Or is
No,
it
Sybarite's the one with the
Sybarite's
events.
the one you can't get.
Still can't get
which
it,
is the one that I wish we could get. But yeah, that's the main one that comes to mind that I want to go get that I just haven't got. But I'm just trying to think. Yeah. So it is mostly the ones like I do jump on board with the online ones when they come back, and I've to a point even bought copies of stuff just to go and do it when they do come back online.
Yeah.
But yeah, not so much that I can just think straight off the bat, really. So,
yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff that would be really nice to get done, but will never come back. You know, like you're talking about things like Homefront, and the other one that sticks out to me is the Forza 2 auction house. I said like I should have like bought or sold 10 vehicles.
Yes,
should have done that, a long time ago. Obviously, never going to come back now because Turn 10 are really bad at that kind of stuff. But yeah, mostly like achievements that I don't think I'm going to get are usually down to skill issues as opposed to anything else. Like I made a real concerted effort to finish a lot of my online stuff. Like last couple of years. So if I like look at what I have left as in terms of like online achievements only, if we take away things like Neverwinter, which are just, it's an MMO, so it's just kind of always going to be there. Just having a quick look now. It's
well, in terms of games that I never thought I would get the achievements in, I never thought I'd ever find anyone to do the DLC for F1 Race Stars.
Oh yeah, right.
And then as soon as the servers start going down, they start coming out of the woodwork, don't they?
Yeah, that is the one good thing when they do those kinds of announcements is that it really it's a real kick to people to actually get out there and start doing this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And what was the other one? There was another one here as well. I never thought I'd get opposite Operation Raccoon City done as
Yep.
well. But I got that done. So it's more like people get it. It's rarer and rarer that you'll actually find somebody to do these achievements for. Just last night I was up till midnight because there was an 8-player session for Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Beta 2 Worlds, so the vanilla version, where all
Wow.
you had to do was be in a lobby with 7 other people and the achievement pops.
They,
So easy, but you're not going to get 8 people in the same room, like
no, exactly. It'll never
lobby, like
happen.
ever. So that is my like highly relevant because I got that and never thought I'd ever be able to get that just because of the numbers. So
Yeah, the only ones that kind of stick out for me are I've got a couple of Guitar Hero ones that require 8 players, so like the band
uh
versus band stuff
mhm.
and stuff like that, which I could probably get together. And then I've got quite a few for SSX that are like online, but sort of because of the way that game works. Like you have the online, it's like an online, always online game.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
should go back and try and get those, but most of it
Yeah.
is yeah.
Like I will always, and I mean always, go back and try to get the one in Darksiders 2. Like just load
Oh
it up every now
yeah,
and then when something
yeah.
changes server side, like when UFC 09 came back because True Skill went down, which is
Hmm.
super weird. The first thing I like to do when something like that changes is load that game up and see if any changes have just happened in that, because like the way that those games worked is that there's like an infrastructure thing where just it seemed like certain things were rotating on the back end,
Right.
and it seems like things would go out of cycle or in cycle depending on where the security lined up.
Huh.
And then that's kind of like, if these games are sitting in a specific phase, you could say, and you say there were, like, just an example, like 4 phases a year, for example, or something like that, and it cycled through each of those. And like in theory, whatever instance that was sitting in, some of these things come back. We've seen NBA ballers come back over the last month, and it's just
That's
like,
so
what's
strange.
changed? Nothing's changed. Something's changed at Xbox.
Hmm.
It seems like they're just cycling the servers or where the servers are located or something. So, you know,
Yeah.
so, yeah. So, but yeah, that I can't see anything else here that I've actually achieved. I'd probably have to go quite far back to have a look at that. So,
They also just don't tend to fix a lot of the old stuff anymore because they just
yeah,
depreciated or the company's gone out of business or whatever. Like that's most of my most of my unobtainables are discontinued because just server shutdowns and
exactly.
there's no one to even bother about it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll never give up my copy of Need for Speed Carbon. It'll always
Yeah.
just sit there because I've not completed the game technically. So,
Yeah, right, right.
hmm so I'll just hold on to that one. So,
Uh, Cameron also asked a question. He said,
mm.
still packing, so I'll ask a question instead of being on the show. If you were going to recommend a video game to someone who loves to read, what would you recommend? I've been browsing some trailers of games that play like good books, rewatching trailers for Coffee Talk and Spiritfarer. Also, my answer is Little Misfortune because it's the best. I still have yet to play that. I do need to. It is on my to playlist for sure. Um,
Yeah. I had a couple. They were the
mhm.
ones done by Sierra. That's who did Brutal Legend? What's that team?
Double Fine.
Double Fine. The Double Fine games like Grim Fandango and stuff like that would be my
Oh
pick,
yeah, right,
I
right.
think,
The
because
point
you
and
can
click
get some
stuff.
of that old comedy, the old comedy that you get from a lot of the old content that kind of
Hmm.
a lot of the book readers and stuff kind of gel with, the Monty Python vibes and all that kind of stuff in
Yeah,
some instances.
absolutely.
So, mm-hmm.
If I
Hmm.
was, uh,
um,
I'm just thinking about like games that are quite like story heavy.
yeah,
Like I think anything in the Telltale series is probably a good shout. Like if you're looking something that's gameplay light, but someone wants to have like a fun experience playing a game and having a bit of story, like a lot of story.
right, yeah,
Like Tales of the Borderlands is like a fantastic example of just a hilarious fucking game. Um, but even like first season of Walking Dead is obviously gets brought up quite a bit. very curious to see what kind of things Skybound is working on at the moment. I was thinking about playing The Expanse actually. I've heard
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
pretty good, but not amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, so I mean that's the kind of visual novel-y kind of thing. Uh,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. There was one that was on Game Pass that I went and finished. Just trying to go through my game collection list of stuff that I finished. It was last year. What was it? Uh, t- 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 the uh, um, it was kind of like a side-scrolling game, but it had like paintings and all that kind of stuff in it. Just
are you
trying to
thinking of
think.
Pentiment?
No, not even Pentiment. It was.
Pentiment I would definitely recommend if you like reading
Oh,
because there's no voice acting.
yeah, there you go. There you go. The cavalry, something the cavalry. Um,
Oh yeah, yes. God, what the Monty
uh,
Python style one that was all
yeah,
the paintings.
exactly.
I
Going
fucking
back to the
loved
Monty
it.
Python stuff, right? So yeah,
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 that game was great. Yeah, really fun point and click.
yeah.
Procession to Cavalry.
Procession to
Um,
cavalry. That
yeah,
one as well. Yeah, just like the vibe that you get from it. I think.
yeah. I mean, what we're kind of like looking at like more casual kinds of games. Like Coffee Talk is a great shout, right? Like it is
Yeah,
very like visual
totally.
novel heavy with like gameplay
Mm,
light. And I'm always okay with those kinds of games. Like I don't necessarily like I'm usually more interested in narrative and art as opposed to like gameplay.
yeah,
As long as it doesn't play badly. Uh, I know Cameron would want me to mention Space for the Unbound as well.
yep,
From a story
yep.
perspective, is fucking fantastic, and gameplay wise is relatively straightforward. Uh, is there anything I've played recently, like puzzle games or anything? I'm suddenly blanking on like some. I've played some walking sims. Um, What Remains of Edith Finch. I think like if you're looking for
Right.
like a more
Yeah,
casual
yeah,
walking sim story related kind of game, that's definitely a good one. Again, like not so much reading, because it's all relatively well narrated, but uh yeah, like it's pretty light. If you want something that's really, really clever and easy and involves a lot of reading, I would say something like Chance of Sinar, where the game is literally all about language and just trying to put things together. So you got to read and understand symbols and kind of do like little puzzles and stuff. I fucking love that game. Um,
yeah.
so not sure if that's 100% what you're after there, Cameron. But if you're looking for like straight up visual novels,
Well,
they're they're
mhm.
re-releasing the original Fate visual novel in English for the first time ever because it's always just been it's been an unofficial translation for like 20 years or something.
Mhm.
So if you are a huge fucking weeb, that is one of those. That's one of like the OG visual novels that really set the genre on fire.
Yeah,
So I would definitely give that a go. I'm probably gonna play it, quote unquote, um, because like yeah, like they've done animated adaptations and stuff of it, but the visual novel remains basically the best version of it. A lot of like visual novel stuff with a basis for anime going forward, like even like Steins Gate and some other stuff. If you're looking for things that are strictly like visual novel reading, look at pictures, that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's get into the ID at Xbox showcase because there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, there is. So I went through the list again today, so I rewatched it and kind of took down a bunch of notes. So IGN did it like as we said kind of last week. IGN were doing the showcase here, and then a bit of lead on with that news. Will be doing one in June as well. Like Xbox will be doing another one in June, so that'll
Right.
be the next showcase. But this one here, they treaded a lot of old ground, but then they kind of threw some new stuff in there as well.
Yeah, a
So
lot of stuff that I was like half remembered of like, oh, I think I saw a trailer for that a while ago, or I've heard about this, but I haven't seen it in a while.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so and the hosts, they're trying to be a bit entertaining as well. So they kind of went in and out between this like the trailers. So they started with 33 Immortals. There wasn't really anything new here. They
Just remind you it
said,
exists, basically.
yeah, exactly. It's going to be May 2024. I don't know if we had that release date
Don't think so. That's
yet.
okay. Yeah, that's
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
That's quite soon.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff doesn't have release dates as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, they left it all really open. Power World, they're doing new pals for that as
Yep, they got an
well.
arena thing they're doing as well.
Yes, they did. Yeah, so that came up later on. I didn't know if the arena was included in the game or if they were doing something separate because it was very Pokemon Stadium.
It does look very
So
Pokemon Stadium, right? Like
it does.
I assume it's like brand new because I feel like I would have heard of it beforehand, but also
Yeah,
I didn't really get into Power
yeah,
World all that much.
yeah. You'd want to be able to, if it is a standalone thing, pull your um monsters and everything in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you'd want to be able to import. So but if it's just an arena, I mean, they could whip that up pretty quickly and just import your characters and stuff. But
sure. Yeah. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, or it's just a separate section. Commando's Origins was next. Did a closed beta in summer 2024. So everything this year, it seems like this year, unless there's no date on it, really.
Hmm.
That one, it is what it is. There's not really anything to say about that either.
I'm sure I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, like the original Commandos game is kind of a classic, and it does have a lot of. Unfortunately, now with was it Mimimi Studio has now been shut down. The guys who did
Uh-huh.
Desperado and Shadow Tactics and that other one they just the pirate one, the like tactics game, like real time tactics.
Oh
This looks
yeah,
like
yeah.
very like that genre was basically built with Commandos. So it's
Mm.
cool to see Commandos kind of coming back. I know that it was on Game Pass. I think the HD versions were on Game Pass for a little bit, but they also haven't aged amazingly. So I'm kind of like curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we had Centum after that. That looked really good
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Do you have any thoughts about that one?
Yeah, I mean, I love the art style. It looks like he's sort
Hmm.
of very spooky point and click. Gives me
Yep.
kind of like Fear and Hunger sort of vibes if you're familiar with that game, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like very brutal and gray and kind of just like it looks like not a great time, which I'm super excited for.
Yeah,
It also like it was like nice, interesting interaction of like a point and click, but with like
mm,
movable elements.
yeah, there's a few of these games popping up now, and I know Xbox is only just getting a few of the, like we'll say later on, the Gamera games and stuff like that. Like Rewind has been out for a couple of years on
Mm,
other platforms, or at least on PC. And these games, like this thing was full of the point and click puzzler style games and isometric and slash or shooters.
yeah.
So, which is really, really interesting to see some of this stuff. And I really like the dark grittiness of some of these too.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so next up we had, I think, a new edition by Don't Nod. I
Yeah.
don't think we've seen this one before,
I
have we?
think we might have actually
Maybe?
seen this before or
Mm,
something.
mm.
I feel like I saw this at a yeah, Lost Records, right? The one with the VHS.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Lost Records, Bloom and Rage is the subtitle for it. I they did kind of give off a little bit of information for it. So well, just through the in-game trailer, really. So the location's Swan Holloway, I believe. The
Hmm.
trailer shows some young people skating, and then like a rundown playground, and then some shots of the bedrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah,
In the rundown playground, they had weird symbols and stuff on the wall, on like a pipe. And there was a bit of distortion and stuff like that. So like they were implying that that was important. And I don't know if like typical Don't Nod fashion, that there's going to be some twisted kind of element with
oh yeah, I think
those. Yeah.
definitely.
Mm.
Like I know that they initially announced this back like the end of last year. I think it was at
Uh,
one of the early
okay.
showcases, and like they didn't give a lot of details, but basically it was like, hey, VHS, 27 years ago, we made a promise, like kind of like it vibes, where it's like they did something happened as kids and they come back as like adults or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the aesthetic though. They really I know a lot of people give Life is Strange shit for kind of being a little bit off in its tone,
Yeah.
the original one at least. But I feel like from like a art perspective, it's the way that I'm trying to think of a way to put this, but there's a kind of like hyper realism of the 80s. Of when you watch things like Stranger Things, you're like, okay, that's what people remember the 80s as, but it wasn't actually that way at all. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't all just like neon and Ghostbusters and shit. It was mostly just station wagons and grey. Whereas this kind of looks like it's kind of doing that for the 90s, where it's like, yeah, it's like VHS aesthetic, but also like a hyper realistic kind of nostalgia tinted version of it, which looks really, really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it seems like it's got some Carrie vibes, like a
Yeah,
coming of age kind of story. And the character says at the end of the trailer, if you find this video, I'm already dead or something. So
yeah. Which I
yeah,
don't, which is like, and she laughs because like she might be joking, but she might not be.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah. It also kind of it gives me that vibe of God, what was the Oxenfree with the kind of
Right.
magically mundane kind of thing where they stumble on something that is strange
Yeah.
or
Mm,
otherworldly, but it's a very sort of contemporary setting, or at least like contemporary in the past setting.
mm.
I mean, like I love the Life is Strange series, and I was a big fan of, I mean, mostly Deck Nine's version, but Don't Nod, of course, did the originals. So I'm definitely very, very keen on this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's this year, which is cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we had Key Flocker next. That
Hmm.
was so it's supposed to be a turn-based cyberpunk themed action game.
Yeah,
Um,
I love the aesthetic.
yeah. Did you get through all of the trailers, or did you
I watched all the trailers. Yeah,
just the trailers? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't watch the
That's okay.
presentation. I just went through all
Yeah,
the
no, you
trailers.
didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't need to see the IGN stuff filtered in there at all. I don't think. So this one had kind of like some Guitar Hero mechanics and stuff like that. Like, seems like it. It's a mashup of different styles.
Yeah, kind of like almost like a Crypt of the Necrodancer kind of thing,
Mm, that's
but
what
with
I
like a
was
really
kind of
cool
thinking.
cyberpunk. Like I love the cyberpunk aesthetic.
That was the
So I'm
game I thought of actually, and I'm like, oh, I should go back and play that because I've got that lying around. So, but
fucking
yeah.
hard
Mm.
hard game, but really
Oh
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's this year as well. That said summer 2024. Stampede Racing Royale. So it
Yeah,
seems like this is a racing battle royale. We've already got like some stuff like Disney Speedstorm and stuff like
yeah,
that
it's
at the
kind of
moment.
like
So
kart racy kind of thing, which is like I guess like doing a
yeah.
battle royale is kind of an interesting idea. I
Mm,
guess I just don't really
mm.
have a lot of interest in it.
Yeah, if it's highly customizable, it's been a long time since we've had something like the PS3 Mod Nation races,
Yeah,
stuff
right.
like
I got
that.
you. Yeah, yeah.
So hopefully there'll be a lot of customizing, and I don't know if it'll just be set tracks with customize the people or whatever, but yeah.
Mm.
Mm. Then we had the Jackbox Naughty Pack, so that's coming pretty soon as well. And the trailer for this was basically, just teasing a little bit, but there's nothing really to say about this at all. I'm not really into the Jack
Yeah,
games.
it's more Jackbox. I mean, is
Yeah,
what it is.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't matter how naughty it is, everyone's probably going to play it if they want to play it right. So,
Yeah, exactly.
who are they fooling? So, mm. So Times in Galaxy was really cool sounding. The trailer for this had a nifty song to go along with it. So it was really
Nifty is
fun.
one way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's looks like it's kind of like a side-scrolling adventure. And it's got like comical stories and characters that go along with it.
Hmm.
Um, so do you have any thoughts about this one at all? They didn't really
It
show you
looks,
much.
yeah, I couldn't really get a feel for it. Like it seems like some
Mm,
investigating reporting thing where I don't.
yeah.
I also like the visual style reminded me of something that I can't quite put my finger on. I'm like I can't figure out exactly. It reminded me of another game and I cannot remember what it was. Um,
Mm,
it'll come to me after the podcast, I'm sure. But I was trying to figure out like who's making this game, and kind of what they've worked on in the past. But like it looks okay. I'm not like I don't know. It looks fine. I don't like if was it coming to Game Pass? I don't think it was, right?
I don't think much of this really showed off Game Pass vibes. I
Yeah,
don't
right. It
think.
was like
Yeah.
I was watching a trailer and I was like, oh, this doesn't really look like
Mm,
something that I want to like super jump on.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Copy Chaser games. What else have they worked on? Speed dating for ghosts. Okay, that's all right. Yeah, it's probably just the engine they're using or whatever. But
Uh,
yeah, I don't know. It looks okay.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sulfur looked really cool though.
Yeah.
So this one here, like it's a first person shooter, right? But it kind of has the same vibes as the what's that those games, the like the Robo what's the ones that Shadow
With
likes,
the like
Robo
like
Quest
RoboQuest
and
and
it's got
Gunfire Reborn.
Gunfire Reborn. Yeah, so it's kind of feels like those games, but
Yeah,
has
right.
like a really flat texture look to it. So like really basic dumbed down textures. But that adds to its style, I guess. But
Yeah,
in the
like very stylistic. I like
mm,
the gunplay and the sounds was were actually like really really good. Like they obviously put a lot of effort into that.
yeah, and they had heavy metal music and stuff going on, and in
Yeah.
one, I think maybe two of the scenes they showed in the trailer, you could customize the weapons, like just swap out parts. I don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't see that. Okay, cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, so there was one scene in particular where they swapped between like a whole bunch of fittings, like different scopes, different magazine sizes, and it changed the look and shape of it. So I think it's pretty customizable overall. So looks like there's a bit of a story in there for that one as well, because you could talk to
Okay.
characters.
Yeah, they had
Um,
like a little like
it was
that
weird.
was I was
Yeah.
not expecting that. Like I thought this was going to be like pretty straightforward boomer shooter like bolt gun
Mm.
style where it's like you just go level to level and kill the shit out of things, but it looks like it has actually a little bit of depth to it, which is cool.
Yeah, I think the story parts did they it had it like the anime pop-ups, like the
Hmm.
character pops up and then there's text
Yeah, like
kind
the
of
kind of
style. So that
silhouette thing. Yeah.
I noticed that across quite a few of these games as well. They were all doing that style of
The visual novel style of chatting.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, so next was Thera, the Sundered Tribes. So this one kind of is a mix of a bunch of stuff. I don't know if it really knows what it wants to be, this one.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting. It looks like, I mean, like, I don't think there's anything
Mm.
wrong with saying it's like this, but with this, right? Because it's like, that's like, there's no such
Yeah,
thing as an original idea. But
yeah,
this really feels like they just threw a lot of stuff in a pot and they're like, yeah, we're going to make
yep,
this.
yeah. So it's got the monster hunting, like Monster Hunter.
Hmm.
You can climb on enemies like Dragon's Dogma. It's got a Breath of the Wild style world, and they specifically said aerial mechanics come into play with all of the elements. So fighting and flying and gliding and all that kind of stuff. So that's a big
Yeah.
part. So you can fly around a bunch of flying
It,
creatures and all kinds of stuff. So
it definitely looks like it has a bit of a focus on like
mm,
crafting and like
yes,
maybe not
that's
like Monster Hunter style of like armor only, but also like contraptions and weapons and stuff. Like it may be like a little bit of what Wild Hearts did and that kind of stuff. I don't know. It looks interesting. This was this a co-op? It was a co-op experience, which is kind of interesting. We didn't see a huge amount, but you know, like
mm,
might might be worth having a look at.
yeah, yeah. It was kind of hard to tell exactly how you were playing with people or if at all.
Yeah.
So, mm. So all you need is help is the next one I showed off. I showed off this one earlier on, where as soon as I saw the trailer, I was sharing it there in the
This game's
staff
going to cause a
chat.
lot of arguments. This is good. This is like the Friends pivot thing over and over
Yes,
again. Just watch the trailer
yeah,
for this and just imagine people trying to work together.
yeah. This would probably be nearly the game of show for me. In terms
Hmm.
of what it was another game, so it's the second game that had like a theme song to go along with the
Yeah.
trailer, and it was this like Japanese kind of like a chibi kind of music theme that you'd expect
Hmm.
in anything that you see along those lines. But it was all you have Tetris shaped characters. It looks like they start out as just you can customize like the base block, but then as like different animals and stuff like that. But I think depending on the puzzle depends on how you spawn in. Either that
Right.
or you have to build them a certain way because I don't think I'm pretty sure the puzzles that have to be uniquely set
They have to
shapes.
be right for that to work. Yeah, it
Yeah,
wouldn't.
exactly. Yeah, so I don't think there's any room to play around with, adding blocks in the levels and stuff like that. So,
But it looks like a lot of it is around like or doing things in order, helping each other, trying
yeah.
not to hurt each other, finding ways to pivot and turn around without knocking other people over and stuff.
Yeah, a couple of traps and secrets and stuff like that as well. Mm.
Yeah, looks
Mm.
great.
Yeah, yeah. Tales of Iron 2, Whiskers of Winter. I don't know the first game. Have you heard of the first game?
I have heard of it, and I was actually just looking it up because it's like Tales of Iron. It's a pun because there's tails because it's about
Yeah, Tay I
mice.
T Tay I L T A I L.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like looking it up. I was like, have I heard of this before? I was like, no, actually, there's a lot of games with like of Iron, and
Mm.
that's kind of anyway. But yeah, this is the first I've heard of this new one. But I do remember a little bit of the old one when it showed up. It came out 2 or 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. Uh, and because I remember it just had like a really interesting kind of art style,
Yeah,
and
it's
so
really
like,
gritty looking. It's kind of
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Mm.
it has kind of like a almost like a tapestry kind of thing going on for it, which I really enjoyed.
Mm.
I don't know if I'll play the. I don't know. We'll have a look at the list and when it comes out and stuff. But it looks good. Like it looks solid for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We
definitely want
mostly
to see if
saw
this
side
one comes out.
scrolling, but there were one or two places where you were jumping up and doing some platforming. So there's definitely traversal. So thought it
Yeah,
might be like a
looks like
Metroidvania
quite
kind
combat
of.
focused kind of.
Yeah,
It's the kind of thing you'd usually see with like a side-scrolling Metroidvania with
yeah.
more of a like Dark Souls slant. Like it looks quite
Mm.
brutal.
Yeah. Hangry, the worst game of the show.
Yeah, this game looked like shit.
I did not like this at all. So, and
Agreed.
like paired with the fact that they called it hangry, which is the worst. Like, if you're a foodie, sure, you probably dig that phrase, right? You,
I thought it was fine. I
but I
mean, if
mean,
you a
yeah,
hungry guy who's angry and eats things he beats up.
exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
That's what it says
So,
on the tin.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, it's got a beast-looking character, like the X-Men kind of beast style. He looks like he's a bit of a werewolf or something like that. And he basically runs around hunting and eating people. And I think he has to take stuff back to the diner. I'm assuming
Yeah, I wonder if it's
hunting
like a
is,
roguelike kind of thing, maybe like it's a run-based game or something. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
yeah, with some kind of cooking sim in the background or something. Don't know.
I don't know. We didn't see a lot. Like it was very much like, hey, here's the premise and here's like the kind
Yeah.
of art, and you see like a couple of seconds of gameplay, but the gameplay did not look very good.
No, no, it was Thor, God of Thunder, Xbox 360,
Yeah, yeah.
like, yeah, kind of really basic, but
Hitting enemies, seeing
really,
numbers coming off of them, but the enemy's not
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
reacting.
yeah. And but not the God of War that those games are trying to be, right? It was just like a
For
really
sure.
slow, heavy hitting, cameras really, really close to the character, which
Yeah,
I did not dig at all either. So because that face, oh, it
yeah.
was it wasn't a good looking game, I don't think. Um, so the next one was by Kaizen Game Works, Promise Mascot Agency.
Oh my God, this looks so good.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you like are super keen on it because like the pa-
Yeah.
the Paradise Killer stuff has been like
I mean, like, yeah, like I will never shut the fuck up about Paradise Killer. It's one
mm,
of those overlooked gems that just more people need to try. And I'm so glad that when it was leaving Game Pass, I got a few people to give it a go.
yeah,
Like even just like the soundtrack and just the kind of the way the game works and the visual style, it was all just fucking fantastic. I still listen to the soundtrack to this day. This game looks completely. I have like I don't even know what this game is, and I'm kind of okay with that. Like I'm kind of okay with it being a very weird. The comparison that first sprung to mind was Deadly Premonition.
yeah,
Where it's like has a sort of story to it, but it also has like an open world kind of village to explore
mm,
and things to do in it, and that they may or may not relate to whatever the main thing you're doing is. And there's kind of like a lot of wacky, interesting characters. I don't know. I'm
yeah,
very curious to see more about this and kind of get a bit more of a handle on what the gameplay actually is.
yeah, and how the mascot stuff works. Because I mean, you don't want it to just be a Pokemon kind of
Yeah, well, like, I mean, they were doing
capture
this
them all. Mm.
joke thing where it was like the tofu mascot was trying to get through a door, and there was some kind of like I don't know, there was some barbecuing thing going on. Like it was all kinds of stuff, and yeah, I couldn't
Yeah,
tell what
it
was
was
this like
weird.
wacky cutscene and what was actually gameplay.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, yeah. We had a sizzle reel for the Gamera games, so these are all hitting Game Pass on day one. You had Firework, which is an East Asian themed walking sim. Looks very similar to Rewinder, which is also part of the sizzle reel that just came out a couple of days ago on Game Pass. day one
Yeah.
as well, even though that's been out for a couple of years on PC, I believe.
Yes, it has. Yeah, it's been pretty popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, Firework looked interesting. It reminded me of a few kind of that. There's been a few of these genre games of the kind of side-scrolling horror 2D sort of thing going on, like the Coma and things like that. The kind of like out
Yeah.
of some like Asian development games, which has been really cool. So Firework looks quite intriguing. We didn't really see much about like story, just kind of more. It was more of a tone piece.
Yeah, exactly. Depersonalization looked pretty cool,
Yes. Yeah, it
actually.
looks
This
really
one looked
cool.
good. So it's another isometric pixel art game with turn-based combat. Um, so
Really good art though.
yeah, think of like a pixel isometric version of Persona, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Would you
sure.
say?
Yeah, I can definitely see what you're saying there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. With Final Fantasy like separate instanced battles, I believe.
yeah, you
Yeah,
sort of typical
yeah,
JRPG
yeah,
battle thing. Yeah.
yeah. Kepler, what do you reckon? Did this look like Cult of the Lamb to you?
A little bit. It looked kind of like it looked like it had like a building and then like a shmup kind of element, like kind of like a nuclear
Yes.
throne or I'm trying to think of other good comparisons, like Enter the Gungeon maybe kind of thing. Looks like, but with
Yeah.
like a base building element.
Yeah, the first thing I saw was the building and I got turned off instantly. And then I'm
Yeah,
like,
me too.
"Oh, hang
Yeah.
on, it might have a little bit more to it than that." But
Cult of Lamb is a good shout though, where it's like it feels like
yeah.
a mash of two genres.
Yeah, it seemed like the building you were doing might have had some stores and stuff like that, like you were trying to
Mm,
set something up. But
yeah.
they didn't really give off anything other than that. Volcano Princess, couldn't tell what this was at all.
I don't know. It looked cute, like side scrolling, maybe a point and click with some mini game stuff.
Maybe.
I'm
It
wondering if
looks
it's like
yeah.
a bait and switch where it looks quite cute and maybe there's something else going on, or maybe it is just a cute,
Uh
nice little game. Who knows?
mm. Yeah, well, there was one scene where it was most likely a cutscene where you were walking, I guess, left to right, and the characters were just talking to each other.
Yeah,
Looks like a child and a adult or something like that. But then the
yeah.
first thing that they showed was it what looked like you were dressing your princess up.
So you're like creating your princess or whatever. I guess
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly. Yeah,
I'm very
so
curious to see what like what the fuck this is because it feels like a very interesting mix.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we had the rewinder, which I was talking about before, which I'll also talk about in what I've been playing
Oh,
as
sweet. Yes, I
well.
want to hear about that. Great.
Yeah. So from there, they kind of did like another sizzle reel for something they called the Xbox Triple I Initiative. And that's basically just like their Xbox proclaiming that they were digging into devs or whatever again.
Yeah,
And so this was basically no information, but just throwing a bunch of games at you. They had Kill
yeah,
Knight, which looked like another isometric hack and slash, Risk of Rain 2, the Devotion update, Shadows of Doubt, the Power World Arena, which we spoke of before, looks like a Pokemon Stadium knockoff. Let's School, My Time at Sandrock. Is that related to My Time at Porsche and stuff like that?
I maybe yes actually because I know they're
Yeah,
working on a sequel.
maybe that's it then. Yeah. Um, they loved throwing Vampire Survivors in here.
Of course.
Yeah, so Vampire Survivors, Operation Guns, Contra DLC, so they showed gameplay for that, which had some really good looking weapons and stuff like that
I
though.
mean,
Mm,
yeah, it looks like more Vampire Survivors, but with guns, which is like, hey, cool.
yeah.
Like they did Castlevania and now they're doing Contra.
Yeah, yeah. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. This looked it just looks just as good as when it was first shown.
It's been a while since we've heard about it. I know
It
about because it was
has.
supposed to be like last year, I think, and it got delayed pretty
Yeah.
severely.
Yeah, they
So
did. Yeah. So a little bit more. They showed 33 Immortals again.
okay, is it just me? Does 33 Mortals not look that good?
It's yeah, it doesn't look that good.
It doesn't look that good.
Um
Okay, it's not just me. Like I was looking at it, I was like, I know there was like the whole thing with like, oh, it's like Hades for babies or whatever. Like it's
yeah.
like Hades light, and it definitely has a little bit of that art style, but like it looks kind of slow or like not kind of. I mean, the all they were talking about was like, oh yeah, have heaps of friends play this
Yeah.
game, and I'm like, yeah, but like, is it good? I
Yeah. The Boss Rush, the 33 player edition, something like that.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. Like they
So
were showing the boss fight, like, oh, this boss fight's really hard. You need to do this, and I was like, okay, it doesn't look great, but
yeah. Yeah.
all right.
Well, it doesn't look tactical. Like
No, it definitely does not
there's
look
nothing
tactical.
you
No,
could not
but
do anything with 33 players that would equal any kind of strategy.
exactly, yeah. The whole
So
thing was just like trying to keep as many of them alive as possible. I'm like,
yeah,
okay, well, that's something, I guess.
yeah. So I mean, and then you'll have what is this a paid game? You have to have people buying the game. You
Hmm.
have to have 33 playing people playing in Australia servers
I'm
like at
very
any
curious to
one
see,
point.
yeah, exactly what infrastructure
So
they've got ready for this.
yeah, maybe they'll have well maybe because they said you can play with less than 33 people and you maybe get better rewards for having less people.
Okay, so
I
you
would like
might
to
not have a
see
choice.
I would like to see some solo runs.
Sure, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so somebody
Absolute
please.
like crazy people just doing solo runs that should be 33 people. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly right. Yeah. So next we had Never Alone 2.
I really enjoyed the first one back in the day, so it's
Yep.
cool that they're doing another one all these years
Yep.
later.
Yep. Streets of Rogue 2. You play that?
Yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I don't really like the rogue stuff, but it is
Yeah.
interesting that they got another one.
Yeah, Death Must Die. I think that looked pretty good as well.
Hmm.
That might have been another side-scrolling one, I think. Broken Roads, so we see that again.
Yeah, I've heard that's not been reviewing very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dyson Sphere program, Rise of the Dark Fog Stage 2.
It's a great title.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the
No, neither. Yeah,
original
all these
part
other games I
or
don't really know anything
yeah,
about yet,
exactly.
other than
Raven's Watch. Yeah.
Brotato, of course.
Yep. Cat Quest 3, which looked as good as it did last time
Hmm.
as well. Brotato, Abyssal Terrors. Now, I don't like Brotato. I like that they're trying to tease me a little bit with like the undersea creature
Sure,
stuff
like
that
there's
they're
some
putting
like
in
they
there.
have something in the game that's
Yeah,
not just
so
a flash game.
it'll be sharks and tentacles and stuff like that, which
Sure.
I totally dig, right? So who doesn't love a
Yeah,
good
it's like
tentacle?
Cthulhu stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, we'll see how that goes. It's going to be more of the same, whatever. And then Wizard of Legend 2, which I don't know anything about either.
No, no
So,
idea.
that was the end of the sizzle reel. They had a showing of Dungeons of Hinterberg, which looks okay, I guess. And then they closed out with Vampire Survivors twice. So first they
Yeah,
showed off the Out Now laboratory update with that, which people were playing a few days ago, and then the Vampire Survivors Contra DLC again, but this
they're
time
really
they
getting the most
had
out of it.
yes, this time they had a fully animated trailer, which actually looked really sweet.
Okay, I didn't get a
So
chance to check that out. I'll have
yeah,
to have
it's
a
a
look at that
really
after
good
this.
looking trailer, and it has some banging music along the way, and there's like a General Fang or something from Hard Corps or something at the end. Is that
Nice.
what his
Okay,
name is?
cool.
Yeah. So you get that as well. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the showcase. So they went on and did a whole bunch of IGN stuff afterwards, which was mostly for the most part terrible. So I gave up
Sounds about
pretty
right.
quickly. The first
Yep.
thing they showed off was Hangry, I think, and I'm
Oh
just
God. Okay, good start. Yep.
Hangry. Oh wait, no, that was a second game. But they just didn't. They did the IGN thing where they just didn't
Sure.
put in enough effort. I don't think. So actually, it was kind of funny. There, it seemed like I don't know their names, but there was a lady that had the controller and was trying to play the game, and the other guy's like, so I'll just be. I know I'm asking questions while you're playing the game, like he was trying to hint that maybe she should be answering the questions while playing the game instead of just playing the game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, they're trying. They're trying.
You don't need to do
So
just you don't need to do gameplay stuff. Just whatever. Anyway.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, and yeah. So that's it.
I'm very
That's it for
curious to see
that.
what they have in June. That'll be
Mm, mm.
getting up to Summer Games Fest and big announcements and Silk Song or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like they're teasing a little bit of that based on some of the news that we kind of got over the last week. So.
Hmm. Yeah.
mm. First up, with the news going, as I was saying before, they have the June showcase. But they had like a super secret redacted. We're having the showcase and then something else.
Yeah.
So, and if you are looking at the logo, it's kind of like a badge like a military badge of some
Yeah, it looks like
kind.
military, so maybe it's a COD. Maybe it's an
I
Activision
was
showcase or something.
thinking Call of Duty, and they're probably just going to be like, here's all the stuff.
Probably
Be
that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because the picture is either three dogs, or
Hmm.
it's so a Cerberus, or it's a
So
Cerberus,
it's
right?
Cerberus, yeah. But
So
well, I don't
yeah,
think they're going to be doing Hades, so it's probably a
yeah,
little
yeah,
early for
which
Hades
is
too.
totally what you get from the zombies Call of Duty stuff.
Yeah,
You know, out
for
of the
sure.
walls, and you feed the dogs and all that kind of stuff. You have to feed them zombies, and so I don't know. Maybe it's Zombie Chronicles 2 finally. People have been calling for that for years, right? To include a
Maybe it's
couple of the other.
Black Ops remastered for all we know. I mean,
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
I could see it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, they could do a lot with the old Call of Duty stuff if they paired all the games up in complete stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, like a
Um,
collection of something. Yeah,
yeah, and they've
I feel,
already
I feel like
tried.
there'd be a big appetite for that.
Yeah, they released Modern Warfare 1 and 2 on the PlayStation. There was some deal, and they never released Modern Warfare 3, even though they were going to, and then something happened.
Yeah,
Which they were given out on PlayStation Plus and all kinds of stuff pretty much as soon as they came out. So
yeah.
you know, um, but yeah, after all of the fun stuff, we had a few studio shutdowns going on.
Of course we did, because
Mm,
it
mm.
wouldn't be 2024 without some fucking layoffs and shutdowns.
Yeah, exactly right. So have you looked into any of these for the most part?
A little bit, yeah. Especially around the Kaoken
Yeah,
ones and the Take
yeah.
Two ones. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the Take Two one specifically, there was a bit of speculation because there was some stuff going on with the Kerbal Space Program.
Ghostwire
Um,
Recon 2, yeah.
Two, yeah, and then there were just people thinking that was going to go away and all that kind of stuff. But they confirmed that, like, I believe that's going to keep going pretty strong because
Yeah,
that's
I
only
mean,
recent. So
relatively recent. It did not launch in a great state. It's kind of been working its way back, but it got a lot of flack
yeah,
when it first came out.
yeah, yeah. So and then we had, of course, the Kyokan one. So what else have they done anything? So it's the Deliver
No,
Us Mars
basically, Deliver
stuff.
Us the Moon, Deliver Us Mars,
Yeah,
which I
yeah,
really enjoyed both those games.
yes, yeah, yeah.
It's a
So
real shame because it really feels like there's more to talk about there, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think what it was 13 people in there's an update that when was this? I don't know when the update was, but pretty much the latest update was 13 people affected by the layoffs, including 11 full-time employees
So it's
and
basically
two
just the two
freelance contractors.
co-founders are the only ones
Yeah,
really left in the studio.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which is brutal
Yeah,
which is a shame because I know they were working on it like the last part of that trilogy, Deliver Us Home, which was the latest one.
right, yeah. And
Which,
hopefully they don't get delisted or anything like that because
oh
they
god, I hope
people
not.
really need to play those
Yeah, I
games, I
mean,
think.
Deliver Us the Moon was really like a cool, interesting game. Deliver Us Mars is a much
Mm.
bigger kind of like again like doesn't always work as well because
Yeah.
there's it's
Yeah.
a bit ropey, but it has like a real I mean, it ends on a fucking cliffhanger. So like, just to, like
Yes.
straight up. But there's like, it's one of the only games I'm like, you sit in a cockpit and you flick the switches in order to launch a fucking spaceship, and there's nothing
Mm,
quite like it.
mm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but it's such a shame. I can understand like they're probably not. There's not the kind of game that's going to get funded these days, like a narrative based single player game with some minor puzzle elements.
Yeah.
It's just with the way industry funding is going, I can totally understand why they just can't afford to keep a studio going.
Yeah. And the Paladin one was 45 employees. They'll keep supporting with technical support for their library, but it was stuff like the Amazing Katamari Damacy, My Tamagotchi Forever, and stuff like that. It was all mostly mobile stuff, I believe,
Yeah, it was
for
pretty much
those
all mobile
guys.
stuff for them. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but I mean, they fuel a lot of other stuff as well. But I don't think they actually really had anything for Xbox, did
no,
they? Just been open for a really long time, and it just kind of sucks.
yeah, it's
So,
unfortunate.
mhm. Yeah. So, from there, we had an update for X Defiant. So
Yeah, this
that's
kind of came out of nowhere.
definitely.
I didn't like. I'll be honest. I didn't think this game was coming out. I thought they were gonna just quietly shelve it.
Yeah,
based on all the
yeah,
reports. Like, because this, I think we last talked about like back in November when they were like, oh, or October, November. They're like, oh, it's definitely coming out, and no, it's not.
yeah,
It's delayed indefinitely.
yeah. They loved using that indefinitely word
Mm.
for a good while there. So every game was indefinitely delayed, but really it was just that they didn't have a release date and they didn't know if or when they were going to release it. So um, but yeah, so that was Ubisoft that tweeted that out themselves. So it looks like May 21st. And
Yeah, so just a couple weeks. Yeah.
yeah, very, very soon. I believe there's a pre-season. I think it goes for 6 weeks, and then it goes into like the full release stuff. So
I'm really curious to see how this does. I mean, like now is a pretty good time to release like
yep,
a free to play game. Like things are pretty quiet. People are eager for something new to play.
yeah. Yeah, I really liked um Hyperscape. It had some
Yep.
good concepts, but really just didn't have enough to follow through. I hope
Yeah.
this doesn't go down the same route, but because it was Tom Clancy related, but it still has all of that kind of energy behind it.
Yeah.
Um,
But they're
yeah,
definitely leaning on that like modern warfare
yeah,
style of game that just kind of doesn't really exist anymore, which is interesting.
yeah, but it had some really cool stuff like Division 2 themed. Uh, it'll be like in Overwatch where you have to basically send the payload out and just protect it.
Hmm.
But you've got like the the doggies that were in Division, like that
Right.
attack you.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
you take you have to protect that as it goes to its destination, stuff like that. So it's got
Oh,
some
okay.
really really good stuff, and it looks really
Okay.
nice. So
You gonna
hopefully,
check it out when it comes out?
oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Sweet.
So I should be all over that one. So and
Nice.
I do know a couple of people that were going to play it. So hopefully we can you know do some good teaming up. So
Yeah. Hell yeah.
yeah. Next up, we have Ninja Theory. They were planning on sharing something from Hellblade 2 every day leading up to the release. I haven't seen any buzz around this at all,
I
regardless.
kind of
But
feel like this is a weird move for a game that's I don't know, like I guess we'll see what they share, but like I kind of want to go into this relatively blind. Like I just want to have the experience. Like I
exactly
know it's
right.
coming out
Mm.
and it's been delayed for so long and they've talked about it for so long. I'm like, it's finally coming out. I'm probably gonna play this day one or close to it.
Yeah, so I mean, it really you're just looking at probably screenshots. There might be a bit of a dev thing
There
where
might be some
somebody
behind the
talks about
scenes stuff because I
something.
know they did a lot of like motion capture and they
Yeah.
do a lot of
Mm.
interesting technology stuff with this game.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that goes like really, really well for them, I guess. But I don't think they're going to get any more traction than they're going to get from it. But
No,
hopefully,
probably not.
hopefully. Yeah. So we get a Starfield update as well. So that is released on was it May 15th? Now it's available now in the Steam beta though. And it's got 60 hertz for Series X.
Yeah,
Yeah,
60
60
FPS.
frames per
Yeah.
second on Xbox Series X. Surface maps, and it looks like the game's first land vehicle as well, which people were
Interesting. Okay.
screaming for. But
All right. They've also had
yeah,
like a new
so
difficulty. Like it's a medium size update, which is kind of cool.
yeah, so but yeah, so it looks like they've got some uncapped frame rate stuff and all that kind of stuff, and then a 40 frame per second option, like we were talking about last week. These
Hmm.
games are starting to pick up some of those. So
I'm very curious to see how badly this breaks the game, and
yeah,
considering what they did with Fallout 4.
100%. Yeah.
I
And
think
yeah,
I was gonna say I think they're good. Like these are good additions, but also I don't really think I'm not going back to Starfield until they bring out the new expansion, and even then probably not straight away because it just didn't. Yeah.
yeah, I need to go back to it. I was like, oh well, if I'm gonna play it, but there's this thing now that the Fallout stuff is kind of going on. Maybe I should do Starfield because I've already started that. So,
Yeah. All right.
hmm. So maybe. Um, all right, and we've kind of got some leaked target months for some of the games that are coming up as well. So, this was on the back of like the presentation update for June.
Hmm.
So we are looking at, I think, let's see here. So we know the stuff about the Black Ops game set in the Gulf War,
Yeah,
which will
it's the new
be
Black
supposed to
Ops.
be
Yeah.
this year, and release window for Shattered Space Expansion, which is the Starfield one.
Yep. They said
Um,
that was this fall.
yeah, it was October for Call of Duty, with Avowed, and then Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 as well, which you'd expect that to release this year.
Yep.
November for Indiana Jones. Wait, November? No, that's
Yep.
for Microsoft Flight Sim. Indiana Jones should be in December. So
December's a rough time to release a game. Like they
it
must be
is.
really pushing to try and like that to push that out.
Yeah.
Like it, just thinking about it, like you don't release games in December, especially not ones that are supposed to be big marquee titles for your holiday, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
what do you think the chances are that it actually comes out in December and doesn't get pushed to February?
I don't know. I kind of feel like February is the new, like, hot. It's the new November, right?
Yeah, because it's like, like it's before the end of the financial year, people have money
Mm,
from Christmas.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like February, March are always like so fucking busy. And even like April this year was pretty packed.
Yeah. 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 I don't think it wasn't. Was it this year that February was the biggest, or was it last year? There was a
Well,
couple.
last year was pretty big because we had
Yeah.
Hogwarts Legacy, but this year was still pretty big as well. We had a few
That's right.
things.
That's right. Yeah. Mm.
Uh, so I don't know. I mean, like it just feels weird to have Indiana Jones coming out so late in the year when they've had so much time to work on it and they've been hyping it up for 100% being this year. I was expecting like October.
Yeah.
But I guess they don't want to compete with Call of Duty. But then it's like Flight Sim coming out in November. Like people, I don't know. I don't want to be a dick, but like Flight Simulator, like it's not the big marquee title for Microsoft here.
Yeah. Mm. Um. Yeah. That's pretty much it for the news. So.
All right. I'll quickly go through the Game Pass updates. So we had Tomb Raider Definitive Edition join just yesterday, May 2nd.
Yep.
We've got Kona 2 joining on May 7th. Uh, Little Kitty Big City on May 9th, which everyone's very excited for. It looks absolutely fucking adorable.
Yep.
And we have Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons rejoining on May 14th, in case you missed it. Well worth playing. I don't think it's the new remaster version.
It's the old one.
It's the
Yeah.
old port. Yeah.
Mm.
But we have quite a few things leaving on the 15th. We have Eastern Exorcist, Earden Chronicles Rising, so the prequel to the one that just came out. Fuga Melodies of Steel 2, Ghost Lore, Just Cause 4, Norco, SD Gundam Battle Alliance, and Superland 6 Inches Under, which is the sequel. Ooh, which is a big list. Kyo, is there anything on that list that you're kind of jumping on?
I was only really tempted by Uden Chronicles Rising,
Mm.
but outside of that, I mean, I don't know if I was going to start Eastern Exorcist or if I did. So maybe I need to look at that to see if I actually have an achievement in it. But I'm not
Let me put it
sure.
this way. Shane Firehawk got through it in like 6 hours. So it is
Oh yeah,
not an overly difficult game. It has a little bit of challenge to it. It's a sort of side-scrolling, um, like a very loose side-scrolling Sekiro kind of parry-based magic thing where it's not like honestly it's not very good. But it's also not overly difficult.
yeah,
I managed it relatively straightforward. There's a couple of annoying achievements for like not healing and not leveling up with one of the characters, but you can kind of breeze through most of the game just fine. I was, yeah, Ghost Lore is going to take too long. Just Cause 4 has been in Game Pass forever, but I know it's really buggy, and Aftos told me to not play it under any circumstances.
and it goes really cheap anyway, so it doesn't even
It does.
matter.
It's always on sale. Norco, I think everyone should try. It's a point and click first person adventure.
Oh, okay.
It's very weird. I love the art, but it also like just goes places. It's kind of set in like an alternate US where they have like robotics. But again, like to explain it would kind of give away kind of the weird, interesting. It's very much like a world you discover as you play through and be like, oh, this doesn't make any fucking sense, and I'm so curious to learn
Hmm.
more about it. It goes real weird places, and I can't say like I fully understood it. Like I'll fully admit, like it was some of it definitely went over my head.
Yeah.
Superland 6 inches under is also really fun. If you enjoyed the first one, it's just more of the same kind of first person platformer puzzler with some like meme humor. The one I was umming and ahhing about is Fuga Melodies of Steel 2. I did the first one and it's a good game, but I didn't really enjoy it all that much.
Mhm.
It's a sort of turn-based RPG where you're on a track, so it's kind of like you just kind of pick which battles you fight, but there isn't like there's no like grinding, there's no like there's not well there's story stuff, but I don't know. I'm considering doing it, but I'm not super excited for it, so I may just give it a miss. Because the first, it's more like I was talking to someone about it, and they said it's basically just more of the first game, like very very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, if I was going to say anything, yeah, give Norco a try.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And let's get into what we've been playing. It's been a fair amount. I will just quickly start. I did the Escape Academy PvP DLC that just came out. I did that with Char.
Yep.
So we did a couple of them legit, and then we just kind of grind out the rest of them. I really enjoyed Escape Academy. Like it's definitely my kind of like I really enjoy escape rooms in real life. So getting to do like little puzzle rooms is funny because like I said when the game first came out, like what last year or the year before, it was like escape rooms are based on video game puzzles, and then they turned a escape room back into a video game. So it's kind of come full circle.
Yeah.
And the PvP element kind of adds an interesting twist where you're kind of solving similar puzzles faster than the other person, trying to do things like, okay, well, you want to make a tic-tac-toe board and get like a three across or whatever. So you need to like solve puzzles quickly. And if you do them quick enough, you could get three and win straight away. But if they get one, they could try and block you. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. But it just went on maybe just a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
anything you've been jumping on?
So I have been hitting a lot this week. I ended pretty much straight after the podcast, or the next day or so after the podcast, I took on your advice for Crew Motorfest,
Hmm.
and I changed the region for my for the Destruction Derby,
Oh,
and
yep.
instant matches, and then
Yeah, heaps of
within
them.
like a
Yep.
couple of hours or so, it would probably took about half a day's worth of searching, because things kind of teetered off and I had to wait until things picked up again. So, there's only three achievements, but the first two I got in the first match, but then it was getting three cars in a single match that was a problem.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
That,
because
that that game can end very quickly if you just get that
yeah,
on the side wrong and you're done.
yeah, that your car just dies. So I eventually got that, but I would have to say it is loads better than the Forza Horizon
Oh, the
kind of game.
Eliminator? Yeah,
Eliminator. Yeah.
100%. Like
So this is
I like
so much better.
it was frustrating, right? But like I
Uh-huh.
actually won a few matches. And I think the big part of it that it's team based.
Yeah.
And I feel like if the
Yeah.
Eliminator was more team based, it'd actually be a lot more fun to play.
Yeah, it is so fun. You can see the other people on the screen if they're there. You get power-ups, which is really cool as well, and the power-ups that other people get go towards you. So
Hmm.
shields and ultimate. The ultimate turning into a monster truck was great.
Yep.
You definitely had to do that a bit. There was a few times where I had a car directly behind me, use the ultimate, and then slowed down. They went through me because when you transition, you go invisible and nothing can hit you. So they kind of go through you because you've slowed down, and then you're behind them. And
Yeah.
then yeah, that was really really good.
Works great.
So it was fun. It was so fun. But the worst part about that was if you transformed in the trees, you were stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was nothing coming from that. So
Yeah, I definitely had a few instances where it was like down to me and one other person, and I had two kills, and my monster
yeah,
truck just ran out at the wrong time. Or I
yeah,
had a match where we were doing so well that we actually won the match before I was able to kill three people.
yeah,
So like, but I had a actually like I hate that kind of stuff, but I of those games I had a really good time with that one.
yeah, yeah.
Still need to get the fucking eliminator done before Horizon 5.
Yeah, yeah. I was super motivated this week to do Turnip Boy Robs a Vank.
Oh, yep.
So I was lying in bed and I was doing that thing where my phone was above me and I was just kind of playing something. It was going to be Vampire Survivors or like Brotato or something. And I'm like, oh, I can play Turnip Boy by Cloud. So
Mhm.
I put that up. I mean, I already started the game, all right. So I was about halfway through finishing it. So I went and did a chunk of it, and then really was just left with doing the boss area
Yeah.
at the end of the game, which is kind of really weird because it's one of those kind of a boss but not a boss kind of
Mhm.
situations where you have to
Yeah.
do a bunch of stuff
Yeah, you
instead.
gotta, like, run around. It's kinda like a puzzle
Exactly.
boss thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So overall, the game was really fun and easy to play, and I didn't mind doing runs, but it does wear thin a little bit when you've just got objectives you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the highlight of the game really is the random doors in random places where you have to actively look for where the door you want is.
Yeah.
But then you have to complete quest chains to get other items like rocks and stuff like
The
that.
rocks thing was kind of annoying, yeah.
It was, but I pretty much knew that if I completed the other quests, I'd get rocks. It's not
Yeah,
like they're randomly around the
that's
environment
true,
or
yeah.
something. So I was happy with that. I went and finished that off the next day, and yeah, it was fine. So it was good. I liked it. Um, you know, I would be happy not. If they went and changed the formula and did something wildly different again, though, because we know
Yeah, they
first
tend to
game,
do that, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
very curious
hopefully
what they will do next for a third one.
that would be nice. Yeah, whatever they do. Yeah. Um, I will also mention that I went on a wild run through some DLC as well.
Mhm.
So I decided to download Forza Horizon 5 again because all I had to do was the Rally DLC and the Dia de Muertos DLC.
Mhm.
That was pretty easy. I did that all in one go. That was taking photos and just load up photo mode, change the day, like
Yeah.
the time of day and stuff like that, and then just do a handful of races or something. It was something
It was
really, really
pretty
simple.
straightforward, yeah.
Yeah, and it just really had like it didn't have to be there really,
Yeah, it
but
just
it was
felt kinda
just
tacked on.
achievements tacked on for new features they added and they want to show you what the features are or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought that I could do the Rally DLC. The problem was at that time I was going into the Rally DLC and my game was shutting down. And I had no idea why. And I couldn't work it out for like 2 days. And then light bulb moment, the DLC for the Rally was the only thing on the external hard drive. And it's a Series S game.
I
X
see, it
game.
was trying to access it
So
and couldn't.
it was
That's
trying to do
funny.
it and was just shutting the game down. So all I had to do was, move it across and it was fine. I actually
Yeah,
just
right.
deleted it off the external and then re-downloaded it because that was quicker. And then I did the accelerators and made for Italy DLC in Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. I've done a bunch of the base game for that now as well, but
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Because again, I've been, like, umming and ahhing about maybe playing it because I missed the first one.
cut and paste the first game
Right.
essentially with I think they've got some new shading techniques and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the Made in Italy DLC is probably the most interesting because even though both DLC packs have the same tracks 4 or 5 times littered throughout the DLC, and you're just doing the same track over different conditions. Very
Right.
straightforward, even though there's a full map for both DLCs.
They
So,
just don't
like a whole
okay.
bunch of races, you just do the same stuff over and over again. But
Right.
there's 100% completion tab on it, but you only have to do 3 things. You can maybe do one of the achievements for both packs is just to do 3 races,
Mhm.
and then there's like complete a race and then upgrade one of the cars, exactly like the first game.
Right, okay, yes, they just
So
went the
they kept the
same
formula.
model. Yeah, okay.
They've definitely only released 2 packs in the first season because they've just moved on to the second season and they've released one more pack and they've got an aliens update coming as alien. I don't know if it's aliens or if it's alien, but there's an
Okay,
alien thing
interesting.
coming as well. So I think it's just going to be something just random UFO related stuff or maybe or something, we don't know.
Gotcha.
But they added new achievements pretty much when I started that, and it's the Fast and Furious in season 2.
Right, okay,
So
right. So
yeah,
they are gonna continue to put content out for it. That's
so
interesting.
it's $44 Australian for one season pass. You're
Okay.
better off just getting both DLCs individually at sale prices and
Yeah,
forgetting
right.
about all the other stuff that comes with it. But I don't know how that's going to work out for the Fast and Furious stuff. We'll have
Okay.
to see. Um, and yeah, and then there's definitely at least one more, so we don't know if they're going to do further seasons. So
Guess it depends on how the other ones sell.
yeah, yeah. And then the other DLC I was working on was basically with Trials Rising again. There's not much to say here, but a lot of people have trouble with the diamond, getting a diamond in one of the maps on the DLC
Hmm.
pack. There's a specific map that everyone runs for that. You basically go bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and then diamond. And it's really, really tight. And I had to just keep coming back to that day after day, just that little bit better and better and better. And then just randomly got it, which was really good as well. So, and I've got nearly got gold on all the tracks in the game, which you pretty much have to do anyway. So,
Right. Oh, nice work.
yeah. What
Something that
else
I
have
had
you?
something I had to run through quite a few times. I went back to Super Hot.
Yep,
Super Hot.
that's a
Uh,
good one.
fucking great. So I'd played this game when it first came out. I bought it. I think it was, yeah, I can't remember, but it was years ago. Really enjoyed playing through it. Like played through the story once. I had like it's
Mm,
definitely like challenging once you kind of get used to it.
yeah,
And I really like the kind of weird, interesting, cerebral stuff that's going on, all the questions and the styling uh and I remember I'd started doing some of the challenges. I was like halfway through like the katana only challenge and got stuck somewhere and was like, ah, fuck this, and then just stopped
right.
playing.
Yeah. Mm,
But I also hit a new milestone this week. And so I was trying to even out my score a little bit. I needed a 10-point achievement, and Super Hot came up as a relatively easy one for getting 3 kills with one shotgun shell. And I was like, oh, cool. Managed it. Took me a few tries. But I was like, I had the game installed, and I was like, man, I should really go back to this because I really enjoyed it. And I started playing through the challenges, and I got through the Katana challenge, and then I got through the 2013 challenge, and then I got through um the Ghost challenge, and I got through the Hot Switch challenge, and I was like flying through the game and just playing so much of it. And then eventually, like I got through the speed runs with relatively little difficulty. Like there was definitely it's still challenging. And then I got through the no death achievement with like what took me 2 tries.
oh, nice.
Uh, and so like I put like a solid couple of days into it, and just smashed all the way through it and just had a fucking fantastic time. Also found all the collectibles. That game's great. Like once you really get into it,
Yeah,
like like I think like doing the challenges all back to back to back and just running through them all, and like it teaches you so much around like, okay, this is what you want to do in a situation where you don't have a gun. This is what you want to do in a situation where you only have a gun with one bullet left. Here's what you want to do in a situation where you have a sword. Here's what you want to do in a situation where you don't have anything to throw. Um, here's what you want to do in a situation where you're surrounded. Here's what you want to do in a situation where time only moves when you move, so you need to optimize every single movement you do to try and get a good time. And then on the other end of it, it's like, here's when time always moves, so you just need to move quickly. Like you don't need to be as precise, but you need to be precise but quick. And so
yeah,
it's like it's actually, when you're doing like the challenge of like time only moves when you do, it's like punching someone takes 3 punches, which is like takes time. So you're better off shooting someone. But in the mode where shooting someone and waiting for it to reload while you're moving to the next part and just kind of make it very, very gradual tactical. Whereas like if it's real time trial, it's like no, punch, 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 and then sprint to wherever you're going and just keep moving because the time is just going to keep going.
right. Yeah,
And if you know the game well enough, you know where
yeah,
the spawns are, you understand where the weapons are. Um, like I just felt like, and it's so cool. Like the game has a style to it where once you finish a level, it shows you it all played back in like smooth motion, and you just look like the fucking biggest badass in the world. The coolest thing I did in the whole game was there's a mission where you start on a banister on like a balcony overlooking 3 guys and you have a samurai sword, a katana. You jump down and you slice the 3 guys, and then a guy with an assault rifle spawns at the top, and then 2 guys with katanas, and then 2 guys with pistols at the top as well, and they run down the stairs to try and fight you.
right.
And I was trying to do the time trial for it, and I figured out the best way to do it was I killed them. I jumped down, killed the 3 guys, looked up at the guy at the top, threw my sword at him, and then hot switched to him and caught my sword out of midair, turned around and killed the other guys.
Oh,
And
nice.
I
Yeah.
wish I saved the replay for it because it looked like the coolest fucking thing in the entire world. I couldn't replicate it for love nor money, but I just had such a great time going back to it that I
Mm.
was like, man, I'm so glad that I just like happened to install this game and try and give it another go, because it was one of those on my list of like, yeah, like really quite involved, quite difficult, like it requires a fair amount of skill to get through. But actually like not as difficult as I was expecting once you kind of figure out how the game works. And it's got like a 5.7 ratio, which is nuts. And the PC version I think is like a 6.8. But it's no longer on Game Pass, so I don't have the PC version anymore. But I'm thinking about maybe picking it up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I did do some of that. I think I've at least done all the main missions or whatever it is that they had, and then I think I might just have the challenges.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Mm.
like challenges, and there's like endless mode where you just kind of fight in arenas for
Right,
as long as
yes.
possible.
Yeah.
And you need to kill like nearly 2,000 people for one of the achievements, so you get pretty good at the game.
Yeah. Nice.
So I played a bit of that, and then the other thing I just started today was Starpoint Gemini 2, which is a game I'm sure most people haven't even fucking heard of. But
I no, no, I don't know
no,
it.
yeah, it's a relatively arcadey space combat sim. It's in a similar vein to something like Everspace, but with a little bit more on the Elite Dangerous side. Like not all the way in the kind of semi, kind of quite like technical, but with just
Oh,
a
okay.
bit more like less arcadey. Like you can't just turn on a dime. You kind of can issue orders. You're flying a slightly bigger ship, and you kind of have like turrets on it, so you're not necessarily just shooting forward and like doing like barrel rolls and spin turns and stuff. You have the ability to like buy bigger carrier ships and have like fighters go out and do stuff, and like it's a bit more like tactical. Uh, so I've just started that today, so I've only put like a few hours into it, but I'm enjoying it so far. It's nice. There's a kind of I'm not gonna say a trick, but the way the economy works is you can do like freelancer quests as just like a little side quest of like, hey, go kill this guy or transport this or escort this. Or you can do like mining and sell resources, or you can just, do the thing where you buy something here and go to another part of the galaxy and sell it for more. Or you can do what everyone does, which is get into a fight with a ship and then use your transporters to teleport people onto their ship to board them and kill everyone on board. And then you can just steal the ship, drag it back to a spaceport, and sell it for a shitload of money.
Oh yeah.
And
Nice.
so like, it's really cool and it's great. It's like yeah, I could get like 10,000 credits for doing a mission, or I could get like 250,000 for like killing all these bandits and stealing their ships. So I'm still like very like again like I'm only like 2 or 3 hours in, just kind of just grinding stuff, getting some money. Um, the story kind of looks kind of weak. I don't know, like it doesn't seem like it's the main driving force, but they kind of have a campaign in there to play. I know that they're coming out with a third one. I think it might be an early access or something, but yeah. So I'm having a pretty good time with it so far.
Yeah.
And there's one other game, but I'll talk about that at the end.
Ah, okay. Yep. Yep. Well, I guess I'll go through the last couple of things I've been doing then.
Yeah.
So I have done 1.5 levels of Power Wash Sim for the start of the month with the Get to Work theme. It's I guess it starts out really basic, right? But
Hmm.
you can only really do like a level a night, I guess, if you
Sure.
really. So I'm kind of like I did the first level, started the second level, got halfway through it, and I'm like, just making me way too sleepy. I'm just gonna go to sleep.
It
So
yeah, like I know it's like
yeah,
like people find it like very like relaxing and satisfying.
yeah,
I gotta be honest, it looks boring as fuck. I
yeah.
don't know.
Like I mean, it's kind of like a first person shooter where you can kind of go to a crouch and then to a like a you can get on the floor as
Like
well,
a
really
prone.
really low, like a prone. Um, and yeah, you just hot swap between the different pressures and stuff like that, and yeah, just go to town on whatever it is you're cleaning. There's nothing else to it at all. It's fun enough, but yeah, I know people get stuck finding one little bit of dirt, but you can just
Yeah,
press a
right.
button and it just highlights whatever it is.
Gotcha.
So
Right,
it's
right.
really just get in and do whatever and get out. So I mean,
I mean, it,
yeah,
it definitely fits our theme.
it
Like
does.
like
It does.
like
Mm.
Keo said, yeah, we've currently got our May theme has now started. Get to work, which is basically games that are based on you doing a job or a chore. So
Yes.
if in the game you're gainfully employed, then it counts. We've had some interesting discussion around whether the Jurassic Park and Roller Coaster Tycoon games count. Um, I think they might do, but I don't know. I'm umming and ahhing about a few. I'm thinking about doing Hitman.
Yep.
Like I said, it's his job to be the fastest dresser of all time and also bald. while also being, a world-class assassin. So I've got a couple of Hitman games sitting around.
Yeah, yeah. Just Cause came up as well, and it's like technically Rico's doing his job, right? So
He works for a foreign government. That's true.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, it works. It works.
that's fair. That's fair. I should play Just Cause 2 actually. Have you got anything
Yes.
interesting on your list that you're thinking about jumping on?
I not really, no. I don't really think that I have anything that I was really going to tackle except for Power Wash. So I would probably have a proper look through some of the stuff that I've got lying around. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, sweet.
I didn't want to hit like any of the grunt kind of I'm a soldier going to do,
Yeah,
whatever or
right.
anything like
Because I
that.
mean,
It
if you pick a
doesn't really
military game, that
they're
kind
gonna
of
be
fits pretty
everything.
easily.
That's
But yeah,
kind of a cop out really. So let's just
little
stick
bit,
with
little bit.
jobs with salaries and like let's, business stuff. And your sim stuff, of course. But yeah, so there was only other one thing that I was playing. I loaded up Final Fantasy 14 again.
Of course.
Because there's from the this what's the 3rd of May at the moment, but until the 5th of May, they have the Final Fantasy 16 crossover. So by the time the
Okay. Yeah.
podcast goes out, it'll be, done. But basically you've got in typical fashion for what they do with Final Fantasy 14 is maybe once every year or two they'll release. They just had the 15 Final Fantasy 15 crossover again. That won't come back for another year or so.
Right.
They've the 16 one is like Clive from 16 appears out of nowhere. You've got to kind of work out. He has to work out exactly why he's there. And then so you go through a couple little story missions, and then you have like a really really cool Final Fantasy 16 themed boss battle.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
with Final Fantasy 14 mechanics, and then they throw a couple of things where you have to press buttons in time to do a couple of certain moves and stuff like that, which is all stuff that's been in 14 already.
Right.
But they just put they put a lot of Final Fantasy 16 flair into it. Clive looks
Sweet.
really good. You come out of it at the end and you get Torgal, his pet, as
Yep.
a minion, which you just walks around with you the whole time, and as a mount. So,
Oh,
and then you
sweet.
get Clive's outfit as well, so you can go around dressed in his garb as well. So I went and
Oh,
did
it's really
that.
cool.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I got that done. It's really interesting though because they kind of tease at the end. It's like go and buy Final Fantasy 16. It's like that's another adventure for another time and another place, and only maybe you could really discover that.
On
It's
PlayStation
like
5.
on PlayStation 5 by going and buying the game. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So
Right. I
yeah,
got it.
so
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a tease in there.
I mean, it
Um,
makes sense, right? Like it's
yeah,
all the same company.
yeah, but there's a character in the game which is called the Minstrel, and it's actually Yoshi P's in-game character. Like
Ah,
he
right.
was
Okay.
put in there as he has his own players that he plays the game and he has his own um characters, but this is a specifically one they put in as an NPC that you go
Right.
and you can he's a bard and you can go and get like the ultimate battles and all that kind of stuff from him. I think the ultimates. Either way, there's like ballad tales and they're redos of the boss battles that you already did.
Oh, I see. Right. Yep.
So they're just like extra instances of the same kind of stuff. And he was part of the quest, which was something that everyone had kind of
That's
did
really
because he
cool.
doesn't really. Yeah, he's popped up in a couple of the special events. But that one's I guess kind of it's special when he kind of pops up in the actual quest lines. So
Sure.
but yeah, so that actually, because I finished those quests, it funnily enough auto popped the quest achievements that I didn't get. So everything else had popped so far, but because I hadn't done any quests in the game, the only things that hadn't popped over from my PlayStation 5 version was anything quest related. So from finishing Realm Reborn, finishing each expansions and each of the parts, and that finally popped. So I've got like 780 gamer score out of 3,100 and something.
Nice work.
So I popped a free 500 gamer score or something out of it.
Damn. All
So
right. That's pretty good.
yeah, yeah. So that
About
was good.
that.
And yeah, that's everything I've been playing. So
It's a lot. Yeah.
it's a lot. Yeah.
Been a busy week. The last thing I started the other day was Another Crab's Treasure, which
Yep.
recently came out to Game Pass. The guys from Aggro Crab, the second game, after Going Under,
Yeah.
where they basically endeavored to make a Souls-like game where he plays a crab, basically, and it has a sort of very like a much more sort of cartoony art style. I think for the most part, okay. I'll say right now, like I didn't love this game. I think it's pretty good, but I feel like it has a bit of an identity crisis. Like combat wise, I think they did a pretty good job with the Souls-like formula. I think it maybe is a little bit too, maybe not too punishing, but it's a little bit too unwieldy. Takes quite a bit of getting used to.
Yeah.
But that's not unusual for Souls games, right? They all play a little bit differently. I like the idea of like the hermit shells being your shields and each of them having a different ability. Um, it's not overly long and it has a decent variety of environments, but maybe not quite enough. Enemy variety is pretty good. Boss fights are fun. Really enjoy the boss fights. It has really good assists. So like if you just want to play this like a walking simulator, you 100% can. Like you can put the damage down to 0. You can make it so that you have more invincibility frames when you dodge. You can slow the game down like from like a timer like timer perspective, so you can have more time to do stuff.
Yeah, right.
And there's even an ability where you're just like, hey, I just want to have a gun that one hit kills everything. And I'm pretty sure it's the gun from Squirrel with a gun, which I saw a trailer for the other day.
Yep.
Because I think it says Squirrel was here etched onto the side of it, and
Yeah,
it just
nice.
replaces one of your shells. So it's a big fuck off a big fuck off gun that you can just use. And it will one hit kill anything in the game, including all the bosses. So like if you just want to breeze through and have like a super easy assisted time, you can.
Right. Yeah.
My main issues with the game are this game has a lot of platforming in it, which is kind of unusual for Souls. Like Souls, most Souls games have some form of like platforming and jumping to get to hidden areas and secrets, but it's quite clunky. Like intentionally, you're not. There's not a lot of verticality in those games intentionally. Like you're not climbing on stuff or usually trying to find secret passages, or if you are climbing, it's usually like trying to make a really tricky jump to try and get to like a hidden item or something. This game is platforming all the way through it. Like you have a grappling hook that you use to get around stuff. You're just climbing on walls. You have like a jump and kind of a glide ability. It the problem is that like the it has as much platforming as say something like Jack and Daxter or Crash Bandicoot or something, like more traditional 3D platformers, but it's still very, very punishing. Like you take quite a bit of fall damage when you fall off something, and you can lose progress quite easily. And it just kind of doesn't feel great. And also like
Okay.
but because of it, the signposting is weird. Because you have this kind of like glide and jumping ability, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to figure out like what's the path I'm supposed to take. Like am I supposed to be doing a platforming puzzle here, or do I need to look for a grappling? Like there was a few times where I was like, I felt like I was stuck. And I was like, okay, have I jumped to the wrong spot? Have I fallen down somewhere the wrong spot? I was like, oh, actually, no, if I look to the left and up, I can see a grappling hook for a wall climbing thing. And it's a bit of a difference from the sort of Souls-like games that I didn't really, I mean, like they didn't just want to recreate it, right? So I'm not, I don't want to bash them too much on it, but it just felt like the signposting and level design was just not very good, unfortunately. I enjoyed the boss
Yeah.
fights. I
Okay.
enjoyed the combat. I kind of enjoyed the story. It kind of has a little bit of a Dark Souls-esque kind of terror from the deep, strange kind of not explaining. Like they tonally, it's kind of all over the place because it's also like making fun of Souls-like games and kind of yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting game, but I think it's maybe just not quite as polished as I was hoping.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
try and finish off the Rewinder. Actually, I never mentioned that, did I? I didn't put
no,
that
you
on my
know,
list.
yeah,
I
didn't
should
hear about
mention
it.
that after this then. After I finish that, I will go and I think probably try that game. So, but you find that full damage is the main thing with the platforming that's the problem.
Kind of like the platforming is probably one of the weaker parts of the game, and there's like a lot of it in there, unfortunately. Whereas like I thought the combat was quite good, the powers were okay. The balancing finds a little bit off, but the assist modes can make it so like you can kind of play however you want, which is really 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 nice.
Okay, cool. In terms of so for Dark Souls, Demon Soulsy kind of games, would this be baby's first Souls like?
It's probably not a bad idea. Yeah, if
Mm,
you're kind of trying to get into that genre to learn how those games work, it's probably not a bad one to play.
yeah.
It's definitely hard to go back from like playing a really something really polished like like Elden Ring, for example, and then going to this is quite different.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Um, but yeah, I do like it quite a bit. It is one of those things though where I think it would be a good introduction to the Souls genre, but it also has so much Souls DNA and humor in there that like you'll kind of miss some of the best
Okay.
stuff about it if you're not familiar with the genre, for example. Like, so let me put it like one of the areas that you go to, which is kind of the central hub, is called the Sands Between, which is a reference to Elden Ring's Lands Between. So like it's that kind of stuff where they're very, very aware of the kind of games that they're making. And you know, even the tooltips was like if you find yourself dying a lot early in the game, maybe you just aren't that good at it. It's like
Nice.
it's very funny, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I liked it quite a bit, but I just feel like it just a little bit rougher around the edges than I was kind of hoping. I was hoping for maybe a slightly more contained,
Mm.
polished experience, something more. I mean, not to like the level of Liza P, but like you know when you play through Liza P, right? Like there isn't like it's a you have quite like a pretty straightforward linear path for the most part. Like you have a little bit of exploration, but it's like you know kind of what you're getting into. Where this is a lot more open world, like Elden Ring light style, that I just didn't enjoy quite as much. I mean, I feel like I also like I got lost a few times, I got stuck a few times. Um, but overall, like it still took me like 15 hours or so to finish. So it's not too bad. I definitely leaned on the assists a fair amount because I kind of was just like, I got to pass. I was like, I'm just not feeling this. If you would do it completely blind without any assists, it would definitely take you a while. But yeah, curious to
Mm.
hear what other people think about it. Also the achievements are a little bit glitchy, but they have been patching them. There was only one
Yeah.
that caused me a problem that just required a quick speed run to try and re-earn it. And it worked first try afterwards. So
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess talk about the rewinder then.
yeah, I'm very
Um,
curious about this.
so I started this last night, and uh, much to my I don't know, I was having a weird thing. I kind of wanted to start something new last night, but I didn't really know what. And I'm like, it's either another Crab's Treasure or Rewinder. And I decided that I'll do this before another Crab. Um, and I started like all of the art style has like all the characters are faceless and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Except well, your character and the characters you kind of initially are associated with are faceless, but then the ghosts in the world have character.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so there's some that are more like people that are uh, more faceless, but then the things that aren't so human have like really distinct characters. So you see a couple really at the start of the game. So you basically start off at I guess your house, and you basically get called as a rewinder to go to a specific location, and then so you end up in basically like a set piece,
Hmm.
and it's basically a assortment of houses with a fallen tree. That you can go down some stairs, and then there's like a cave and some stuff like that. So you kind of have to work out what exactly happened in the area by doing the point and click adventure kind of thing where you click on certain things, you can go into doors and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's a couple of things. And inside, there'll be a couple of puzzles. You have to solve a couple of things like shifting some blocks around and stuff like that. One's like a seal on a temple. You have to find the code, which is basically like a certain pattern, and then go up to the seal and then put the pattern on the like you draw it basically on the door.
Hmm.
um, but one of the first ones I encountered was there was a ghost, and I hadn't quite gotten up to the point where I could solve the puzzle, but I'm like, there's got to be something else with this puzzle, right?
Right.
Because I go into the house and this guy's just mumbling like numbers at me. He's like
It's like a number
23 this
station.
and 40
Yeah.
this, and he was basically adding up like a total. So it was like a shopkeeper.
Right.
So he died at some point, and there was an abacus on the desk,
Ah.
and like I haven't seen an abacus in so long that I'm surprised I even remembered what an abacus was. It's like
Yeah,
one
that's
of
fair.
those. It's like I haven't touched one of them in 30 years, and the last time I touched it, I played with it like it was a toy and didn't know how to use it.
Yep.
Because that's, you know, I'm not good at math. Terrible at it. Couldn't tell you how to use it. But so yeah, so I went and I was fooling around with the puzzle, and it's got a really interesting menu system where your left trigger pulls up a diary, and you can flick through your diary, and you can see the history and the lore, and then there's a hints tab. You have to use, and then your right trigger basically pulls up your inventory.
Got it.
So yeah, but it's got this weird thing where it uses the D-pad individually to the left joystick. So
Oh,
you're
okay.
probably better off playing on PC because the
Yeah,
controller
okay.
is really weird because the left and right on the D-pad kind of flip the pages of the book, but then the joystick was the thing that moved the stuff around on the abacus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I do
so I was
get
kind of
that now.
getting confused what I was, and I kept going through different parts of the, I flipping the wrong thing and whatever. But I was sitting there trying to work out because on the wall it showed you just a picture and it said 723, so 723, and showed you on that picture what that was on the
On
abacus.
the abacus, right. Yeah.
So if you don't know how to use an abacus, you look at the picture, you can see what that is,
And you
and
try
you
and
can
reverse engineer it, basically.
exactly you have to reverse engineer how to
That's
use an
interesting.
abacus. So I'm here I am trying to solve the puzzle when I couldn't solve the puzzle because I didn't have all the puzzle pieces yet because that happens
Yeah.
a little bit later on in that scene. I had to look up how to use an abacus and then work out why I couldn't work out what was going on with the puzzle. So I was looking at 5-6 minutes how to use an abacus video to see if I was doing something wrong.
That's
Eh,
great.
but yeah, so I kind of left that alone in the end, and then went and did a couple of other things, solved a couple other puzzles, and then came back to that. That was kind of closer to the end of the scene where you actually solved that puzzle, even though it's the first one you see.
Right.
Because every other puzzle you were pretty much able to solve instantly.
Yeah, that always kind of annoys me, right? When you don't know if you can solve something or not. Like
Yeah,
games recently have gotten a lot better about being like, hey, you need more stuff than this, or you're missing an item, or you don't have the
yeah,
knowledge yet.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Chance of Scenario is good for that too. Like that kind of stuff around
yeah.
like no,
Mm.
letting you know there's like, hey, you have everything you need now. Fucking figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So once I solved most of the puzzles in that area, you get like an item, and you basically take that into the cave, and you have to use it, and do like a time-based puzzle, like in Braid,
Oh, okay.
and it kind of
Interesting.
works in reverse. So it was a left and you enter the cave from the right, and then you kept walking, and then as you hover over, you put the item in the shrine, but then that initiates the ability to do the rewind thing. And I think
Ah, right.
that is different depending on the item you get, because as you do more things, you'll come back to this shrine and do it in a different order. But there were 4 gravestones, and as you went over the gravestones, it would highlight them, but they would only highlight in a certain order. So you had to go left to right, stop on a gravestone, go back, and then right, and then left, and then right, or whatever order to make
Yeah.
sure that the symbols highlighted in that order, and they were the points. But that was
Hmm.
timed as well before it
Jesus.
automatically
Okay. Yeah.
stopped. And eventually, you work out, like, it tells you when you get it wrong the first time that it goes in reverse. So you're not going in and then doing it in the order. You have to do it backwards
Backwards, right? Because you're see
because time,
you're
right?
rewinding. Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense.
But then you basically have a portal. You go into the portal, and that portal is whatever the rewind is. Basically, it's a section of past you have to rewind.
Got it. Okay. This
So
sounds really interesting.
it is, yeah, yeah. So there's some turmoil that happened in the current time that you basically have to solve that turmoil by going back in the past and then making people choose another decision.
Oh, okay. I need
So
to play this. This sounds
yeah,
great.
yeah. So kind of like, I guess, Remember Me, where a scene will play out.
Yeah.
This is like a 2D version of that, where you see the scene inside a house and outside a house. Different things are kind of happening, so you have to kind of see both angles. But you see a couple of people talking inside the house, and it's a conflict, right? And what you need to do is you need to convince them to do the opposite thing of what they've decided to do.
This,
So
Okay, if you like this is like ringing like Ghost Trick bells to me
Kind
so
of.
hard. Like it reminds me a lot of
Yeah,
that.
without the action abilities, it's actually more of a symbolism kind of what represents what, and then what
Sure,
makes them think of something different.
got it.
So the
So it's
people
more
will
like Inception,
stay,
actually.
yeah, so people will stay where they are. So one guy was sitting at a table, the other one is a pregnant person. So there was something that led up to you having to do this, but I'm not going to mention what
Sure.
it is because it's kind of story
So
related.
there's a spoiler. Yeah, gotcha.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then you had to deal with, so the woman was saying, "Oh, I don't want you to go, or if you take, can you take me with you?" And this guy's like, "It's too dangerous. There are monsters about, blah, blah, blah. This person's going to come. You'll be fine here. You're pregnant. I'm just going to go sell my seeds so that we've got money to go back and do whatever we want.
Yeah,
We have money." And so he goes off by himself, and the pregnant woman has resentment, which is the key thing. This character resented that character for making the decisions he made. So the thing that you're rewinding is that you're making the guy at the table choose a different decision by basically essentially solving a puzzle. So in the environment, there's a couple of things that will remind him of a certain thing. It
got it.
might be something that the woman said. It'll bring up four bubbles, and then three out of the four bubbles will be okay. They'll give you, so if you hold the button on it, it'll give you a symbol for each of them, and one might be like a monster hunter coming to save the town. One might be a the picture of like a baby, and then that's kind of like a cue. So you had to convince this person to take the pregnant woman with him and just leave town.
Yeah,
So
got it.
yeah, so like there are monsters coming, everyone's going to die, and then because she was left there by herself, she died.
Yeah,
and
right.
then and
You need
then
to fix it.
her,
Yeah.
yeah, her resentment as a ghost was the thing that made her stick around.
Interesting. Okay, this sounds really, really cool. Do you know
Yeah.
any idea kind of like how long the game is or kind of
I think it's like an 8 to 10 hour or something like
Okay,
that,
cool.
unless you get stuck on an abacus,
Sure. Yeah, yeah, right. Okay, yeah.
and then you'll
Puzzle
definitely,
puzzle
yes.
problems
So just
notwithstanding.
ignore
Yeah.
that one and then come back to it, and it'll be an easy solve after that. You still
Got it.
might have to look up how to use an abacus, maybe. I
That's very
don't know.
fair.
I can't rewind past to not do that. So,
Amazing.
the only other thing is I haven't checked on the Xbox, but there is DLC for the game.
Oh, okay.
TA doesn't flag it as DLC
Because it came out with the game. Yeah.
because it came out with the game. And if you go on the Windows Store, the DLC shows up.
Oh,
But
okay.
there were reports, and I haven't checked on the Xbox, that the DLC doesn't show up at all.
Interesting. Okay.
So you might want to just play on PC because you can use the mouse to click on everything in the environment. You can install the DLC. You can't finish the game because there are 3 achievements tied to the DLC. It's like $2 something for the DLC. With Game Pass, it's like $1 something.
Okay. All right. Easy.
So yeah, so definitely do it that way, and you'll have a better time. You don't want to fiddle around with the control with it, but that's the huge flag that it's just another weird DLC problem.
That's so strange. All right.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Easy. I guess yeah, that's everything we've been playing. It's been a busy week.
it's
I
been so
will
busy.
quickly
Yeah.
go through the leaderboards. In third place, we have Red with 24,770. We have Lee Howard with 26,010, and we have me at 26,715 because I have been playing a
Hey.
lot of trash.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been just trying to get all of it done before the end of April.
Yep.
Do you want to go through completions? We've got quite a few there as well.
Yeah. So Shadow Sly finished Star Wars Battlefront Collection after they fixed the achievement. Professor Pluto did Turnip Boy robs a blank. Good man. A bank. Dude that writes long reviews did Wolfenstein: The New Order. The Notolinator did Warface, Breakout, and Potato. Zenimus did Syndicate and Torchlight, so he's been on that for a while. Torchlight's another good one as well. That's a bit of a
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
yeah, to go back to. Left 4 Legacy did Lego 2K Drive, so he drives 6 kilometers, six
He had like he
something
said he like
miles.
rubber banded the game for like ages to get some of the
Yeah,
last
so
achievements. It doesn't
it'll
sound
take
right.
anywhere between 24 to 60 hours of idle grinding with the rubber band because you don't do enough miles in the game to finish the game.
Ah, that's fucking typical. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Rapture did Bluey and Loot River before it leaves Game Pass. Super Bob did hit his 600k, which is awesome. Shane Firehawk did Enchanted Arms Asia version,
Besides
which
the
he
unobtainables, unfortunately, for the
unobtainable
poor
in that
guy.
version. Eastern Exorcist and Norcos and two more Game Pass games. The Char with many names did Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Um, Baron von Neumann did Grounded DLC, Alien Fireteam, and the Remnant 2 DLC. Lee Howard hit his 300k by shilling all the baby games.
Yep.
And Bulbasaur did JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Ravenlock. So a lot of leaving Game Pass completions in there.
Yeah,
Actually,
we had a bit of a quiet week for completions last week, and I guess
yeah,
everyone's been catching up now because that's a
yeah, totally,
lot of work people have been putting in.
yeah,
We also have the word challenge, everyone's favorite competition, where I put up a game and you have to guess what it is when I give you a clue each week on our Discord. The clues were this game has two games in its series, it has FMV, has a T for teen ESRB rating, and has the in the title somewhere. And after about 1,000 guesses, our good friend, Professor Pluto, Alex, finally guessed it correct with the Gunstringer.
yes,
My clue this week was going to be that it required a peripheral, which really would have narrowed it down. But congratulations to Alex. Good work, mate. I know he was very, very keen on it, and I was very worried someone was going to snipe it out from under him.
yeah. It's a good one.
All right. And then we've got our Patreon, patreon.com/HallOfGamers if you want to help support the show. Uh, we basically put out any kind of before and after behind the scenes content for each episode if we have it, along with any kind of extra spoiler casts, or in this case, lights, camera, and action. So the show is back. It's our show where we review movies and TV shows based on video game properties. Usually because Cameron's never seen a film in his life, apparently, and so we're trying to educate him on the best and worst stuff that we could find. Usually the worst. But what we've started doing is releasing episodes of the Fallout TV show that we all really, really enjoyed. And so episode 1 is out as of yesterday, I believe, or yesterday or the day before. You can go and check out on the podcast channel. I put a little clip that Patreon makes of the kind of the first couple of minutes, which just has me putting in the worst Fallout joke of all time in there, and some introductions, but it gives you a little bit of feel for what the show is. I'm working on episode 2 at the moment. We've recorded it. I'm just going to finish editing it, and that'll be out next week. But yeah, if you want to listen to any of those, they're all available at any tier on our Patreon. We don't restrict content, so any amount helps. We literally couldn't afford to do the show without the help of our patrons. It helps pay for things like Zoom licensing, for hosting competitions, for like the word challenge, and also equipment in case of cameras break, or if we need new mics or lights or anything like that, so we can keep the show as passable as it is. But a huge thank you to our current patrons: Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Natolinator, Mad Lefty, Admiral Awesome, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavaliero 7, Old Mate Clown, Mark B, McLovin Legend, Massage without Mace J, Left for Legacy, and McNulty. Thank you so much. And that's going to basically bring us to the end of the show. As always, we've done the show live on Twitch. Xbox Hall of Gamers is the place to find us. Thank you, Zach, for joining us. So if you want to hang out and watch us live and chat and ask questions, feel free. Xbox Hall of Gamers, as always. Keo, what have you got to shill?
All right, so I'm twitching over on Twitch, Resident Evil 0, about to move on to Resident Evil 1 after I do the last area of 0. So that's at Keo Live at Home, and you can pretty much find me at Keo Live at Home on Twitter and also on Instagram, and you can also see me at HDFG Play on YouTube, where I post the shorts that go up on Instagram, as well as full playthroughs, mobile-friendly playthroughs, by the way. So there's 2 versions, so you can catch the actual full live stream, or you can see another version of it with me on it. It's like it's sectioned out in 3 parts. So like me.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, right.
It has
That's
the
clever.
game screen and then kind of like my tableau of contacts or whatever at the bottom.
Cool.
Yeah. So so that's all over on YouTube at HDFG Play. So
amazing. And as always, I'm Neomaster on everything: True Achievements, Xbox, and Discord. No surprises there. Well, that's been a wonderful episode 122. What was supposed to be a short episode, but I think it was probably longer than the last couple we've done. So, We're going to call it a night, but we will catch you guys next week. See you later.
Peace out.